Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the BLACKBIRD PLC Interim Results Investor Presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab that's just situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Please just simply type in your questions at any time and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, all questions submitted today will be reviewed, with responses published on the Investor Meet Company platform where it is appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I would like to submit the following poll, and as usual, if you could give that your kind attention, I'm sure the company would be most grateful. And I'd now like to hand you over to CEO Ian McDonough. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jake. Thank you very much. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon, to anywhere you are calling in from. So welcome to our 2022 interim results presentation. Steve and I will take you through the slide deck, and Stephen Streeter is available to answer questions should he be required to. And we will try and get to all questions, so don't feel shy about putting any in. Right, so just in case you aren't aware of what BLACKBIRD does, just a quick review, quick recap. We are a listed business. We have a market cap, or at least on the 9th of September, a market cap of approximately £74 million. We are a patented cloud-native content creation and distribution tool. So that's editing and publishing, and we do that for the professional media and entertainment industry, mainly now in the US. We have scalable and efficient technology and a growing IP portfolio. So an exciting company. We now have 15 patents and 5 more pending. And as you can see from those nice logos below there, we're multi-award winning, including in the sustainability area, which is obviously becoming much more important for every industry, but particularly for the media industry. So the board, I won't dwell too long on this one, but the board is stable. Stephen and I are quite significant shareholders, but all the board are shareholders, and that's really encouraging. Everyone is participating in the success and future success of the company. So highlights for this interim period. Well, it's a really exciting period for us. Our revenues are up a record amount of 78% versus prior year, to just under 1.6 million, 1.55 million, I should say. We've hired also in-house expertise to accelerate growth opportunities. This is particularly in the creator economy space. I'll touch on that later in the presentation. And we've also, or reaching the end of our first tech licensing build. This is our licensing deal that we did last September to a large partner in the production and media industry, who is now rolling out their product, the combined product that is powered by BLACKBIRD, to an end user in the US. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit as we go through. Now, for people familiar with this, with the company, you will have seen this slide a number of times before, probably since 2019. I've been putting this slide up. It just shows the consistency in terms of our direction. We are looking at 3 different circles on this slide. On the far left of the picture, the infrastructure slide is really where we are focused on direct deals with customers in the media sector, customers such as CBS, as the NHL, as A&E, etc. They are where those customers sit. We've always said that we will scale the business though through the 2 larger yellow circles here on this page. OEM is where we become a part of another company's technology stack. That can either be as a product or as a technology. As mentioned in the previous slide, the largest of those is the tech licensing deal we did just last year. And on the far right of the slide, the public cloud bubble, public cloud really being a vector to reach a mass market. That is now where the raise that we did just before Christmas and the new team that's come on board subsequently are now really focused in terms of building a product that is addressing the creator economy, there's a mass market in comparison to the products that we've got elsewhere in the market. So to recap the year so far, it's been a very busy year in terms of bringing in direct and OEM deals. We'll split this into Europe and the US, so both sides of the pond. On the European side, EVS, as a key partner for us, has recently now integrated our product into 2 of its largest products. That is the Media Hub product that they have and the IP Director, part of the Mediaception platform that they have. In fact, that was just announced this last weekend, where EVS are starting to demonstrate and show customers the Blackbird integration with IP Director. And EBS has a large install base of IP Director, something in the region of 500 customers. Also, in terms of direct deals, we brought on FIFA in this year. FIFA are using the product extensively in their new OTT platform, their FIFA Plus platform, where we are a content creation tool and publishing tool. And they're using Blackbird to quite a sophisticated level in terms of edits, cuts, and publishing. Also, this year, we've also brought in SBS in Belgium and had an expansion within the IMG portfolio, the IMG account that we have. On the US side, our global financial news organization, which unfortunately we can't tell you who it is, it's under NDA, but anyone, mostly you guys who are investors will have a good inkling about who that is, has also experienced expansion this year, and that customer is really very happy with us. We've also had an expansion into Televisa Univision, a brand new renewal into A&E Networks for 3 years, and NCSA, which is a part of the IMG portfolio, has also taken on Blackbird in a multi-year contract. So plenty going on in the direct deals. Remember that the direct and OEM deals, they're the first two. Now, in terms of the Powered by Blackbird model that we closed a deal last September with this partner in the media sector, they're now currently rolling out that product to a major gold standard US broadcaster. This really indicates an inflection point in the scale at which Blackbird technology is reaching the media sector. So it's a really, really very exciting time for us. I wish I could be here actually announcing what the name of that customer is, but it won't be very far away. We should be able to announce the name of the partner and the customer probably within the 2022 calendar year. So let's watch this space. But the initial rollout has gone very well. The end customer in question really wants to make sure that the product is properly road tested and edge cases tested, and making sure that it's a highly tuned product. So in terms of expanding our reach, the other key theme of this presentation is to talk about how our technology is applicable to a wider market other than the professional M&E space. So you see on this pyramid on the right hand side of the screen here, gives you a kind of indicator of the size of the M&E space compared to the other sectors that we could enter. Streaming Media Magazine, in fact, has talked about Blackbird being at the top of the pyramid, literally, in terms of the sophistication and the smooth and the performance of the product. So to move into other markets, it is partly a case of deprecating our product and to address those markets, but also a case of having an end-to-end platform that means more glass to glass than where we fit in currently as a component. So we can become frictionless, we can become self-service, and we can leverage those technological advantages that most of you guys know about so well, i.e. the speed, the scalability, and the efficiency of the platform to address that market. So we did the raise just before Christmas, which was good timing, and we've since then hired 3 key leaders into the business. We're going to talk about them very, very quickly now, from left to right. Sumit Rai. We're very fortunate to bring Sumit on board as our Chief Product Officer. Sumit is a successful entrepreneur in his own way, in his own right. He has sold his business previously into a Nasdaq-listed company, so has a lot of entrepreneurial flair himself. He's also been Chief Product Officer at Vegas, which is a competitive platform to Blackbird. And is joining Blackbird primarily because he sees Blackbird as a pure play cloud, whereas other companies that have not been pure play cloud, where he was before, will find it very difficult to move to the cloud. And we've had that assurance from lots of other people in the industry that as a pure play, we're almost like that electric vehicle that, Tesla has that technology, whereas anyone trying to chase Tesla has got to try and rebuild it from scratch. So Sumit has seen that quality in Blackbird, and that's why he's moved across. The other key people here on this slide here, Mo Valens has got excellent expertise in direct-to-customer platform marketing, so he's SVP Product Marketing. And Morgan, as VP Engineering, is now running the engineering team, allowing Stephen to focus on building the future of the Blackbird codec, Blackbird 10, and really making sure that we're pushing forward as a company into new areas and keeping our competitive advantage over the competition. So really, these two guys are really important to us in terms of delivering our next iteration of BLACKBIRD. I'll let Stephen talk about the numbers now.
Thank you, Ian. So for the half year, revenue was up 78% year on year to 1.55 million. That is as much as we made in the whole of 2020. On the MRR, we've seen good growth over the last 3 years of 220%. And a reminder that now we kick into the next phase of our tech licensing deal. We have minimum guarantees of 1.3 million over the 5 years to underpin that. They are not included in the numbers because the first one falls due within December. Moving on to the order book. At the end of June, it was 3.3 million, up 69% year on year. And I'm pleased to say that that grew to 4 million, a record figure at the end of August. In terms of visibility of our 2022 numbers, at the end of June, we had 2.4 million secured. Again, it was up 49% compared to the comparative figure last year. And by the end of August, that figure had grown to just under 2.7 million. Our cash burn increased slightly to 1.3 million, mainly due to investment in the team and in the creator area, which we had for the raise. A reminder, we have a very strong balance sheet, no debt, and we have 11.6 million of cash and equivalents at the end of June 2022.
So it's quite a short and snappy presentation today. So in conclusion, we'd just like to remind you that it is a record order book of 4 million, as Steve says. Our tech licensing deal is being delivered, so nears the end of the delivery. We've hired some fantastic talent from the market for growth in the creator space, and that self-service product that we referenced is now in development. Just also as a closing statement, we were also on Microsoft stand for the second time in a row, second major show in a row, just in Amsterdam this last weekend, and so building very nice relationships within the market to push into the public cloud area, where public cloud is going to be really important to us as a vector for reaching the mass market. That concludes the presentation. I'm very happy now to answer questions from the floor.
That's great. Ian, Steve, thank you very much indeed for your presentation this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions just by using the Q&A tab that's situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. But just while the team take a few moments to review those questions that were submitted already, I would like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Ian, Steve, Stephen, we did receive a number of pre-submitted questions ahead of today's event, as well as you can see in the Q&A channel there, a number of questions that have been submitted throughout today's presentation as well. So thank you to all of those on the call for taking the time to submit their questions. And guys, if I could just hand back to you to run through that Q&A tab, and where appropriate to do so, if you could please just read out the questions and give your response, and then I'll pick up from you at the end. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Jake. I'll do that now. So pre-submitted question one, why have shareholders not been kept in touch with developments this year? Lack of news has not been fair to shareholders and has shown a lack of interest in shareholders who have kept this company going. Well, I do apologize you feel that way. As the company matures and our focus moves more to the two larger circles on that slide that I showed you earlier, individual deals become less important for our scaling. So it's kind of a consequence of the maturing of the business that we will not be announcing each and every single deal that we make. So I do understand that some investors look forward to those pieces of news, but as we mature, it doesn't really seem appropriate to announce every single logo that we bring into the company. Pre-submitted question number two. What has happened to the licensing agreements, which on numerous occasions were told were imminent? Well, we're working on them. So I think one of the key things about this industry is that they like to see a tested and delivered products first. And as we talked about right at the top of the presentation, we are literally rolling it out now to a gold standard US broadcaster. I think it will send real ripples through the industry when this product is delivered. It will be a game changer in many ways for how our production suite will work. And so, yeah, watch this space, and hopefully we'll be able to announce some of those soon. Pre-submitted question number three. why have we not been provided with the name of the global company we signed up with last year? Because we're under NDA. As soon as we're able to announce that, we will announce it. And as I said, hopefully we'll be within 2022. Pre-submitted question number 4. What has happened with the OEMs signed up? To shareholders, they do not seem to be the ideal model, as no information is released under them to shareholders. No information of how many contracts signed up or indication of revenue streams. Well, Steve, do you want to just talk about how you break that out and in terms of scaling?
Yeah, we do break up our revenue into various sectors between the direct infrastructure deals, the OEM deals, and the licensing sector too. So you'll see if you go back to 2021, you know, our revenues in OEM were up nearly 40%. So again, we'll be splitting that out for our end of year numbers for you. But yeah, as Ian mentioned, you know, the size of some of those deals individually are small, but collectively you will get to see how the OEM is performing.
Good. Okay, and we've got a question on profitability now. When is the company going to be profitable, as this day always seems to be in the future?
Again, I'll refer back to you know, our previous answer on this. Within the existing enterprise business, we expect to get to break even within our existing funds. So if you strip out the amount of money that we raised from our 11.6 million in cash balance, we have about 4.4 million left for that enterprise business. We expect to break even within those resources.
Okay, so pre-submitted question number 6 is now over 22 years this company has existed and yet turnover so low. During that time, some tech companies have grown massively in a short period of time, e.g. TikTok and Facebook. What's the company's view? I have to say, as a visionary leader, Stephen probably was a little bit early in terms of getting this to market. But the time certainly seems right now. We've just come back from IBC, where cloud is very much on everyone's lips. And we are, as I referenced earlier, in terms of hiring in Summit, we are very much a leader in that sector. And some of the largest companies, not just in the sector, but in the world, have recognized that too. Again, I referenced the fact that we're sitting on Microsoft stand. So, you know, there's an awful lot of patience I know that's been given to us from investors, but I would say that now we are really getting to a sweet spot in terms of where the industry and the video, not just the M&E, but also the creator space, is looking for the technology that we have. Pre-submitted question number 7: can the company explain with the prospective new partners why the share price has halved from 40p to 20p in 1 year from the same time last year? Well, I think we can start to explain it, but I'm sure that if you read most of the commentary on the tech sector as a whole, that is not unusual. In fact, a number of the professional investors that we've been meeting with this week have commented that BLACKBIRD is actually holding up their portfolio rather than actually being one of the worst performers, actually one of the better performers. So an awful lot's happened within the tech sector. An awful lot's happened with the macroeconomic politics as well. So I wouldn't want to comment exactly on details around the stock market, but I think we're part of a general global trend. Pre-submitted question number 8: what is happening to the player? I hope it will be more than a prototype. What you need to do is release it now. Nothing is perfect for day one. Like Apple and Samsung, who bring out each year improved versions, so should the player. Once it is in the market, it can be improved and updated over a period of time. Thank you very much. I appreciate the iterative development that you're referring to there, and I absolutely agree with it. I think there should be a way to iterate a product and then develop it and improve it on the fly. We are releasing in 2023 a tool for the creator economy, and one of the differentiating factors will be the fact that we have delivery and player part of that. So not wanting to say too much, because of course we're in a competitive market and we don't want everyone to know what we're doing, but it is certainly a case of watch this space. The player is going to be a part of that new product. Okay, so pre-submitted question number 9: which do you feel went better in terms of company presence? Getting the branding on what the company can offer to businesses, IBC 22 or NAB 22. I mean, I think this is simply, both of them were fantastic. It's really good to see people back in person. As much as we love the virtual space, I'm not the only person that I've met this week that says it's so much better to meet in person, and there's so much more serendipity that happens. So we were profiled for both shows in quite a number of areas. We were on Microsoft's booth for both of them, actually. We had our own spaces for both of them. We were also showcased by EBS for both of them. And we were showcased by Liveview for both of them as well. So, BLACKBIRD really has grown in stature and in presence in the industry since the last live shows in 2019. So delighted to see the progress. Both shows were fantastic. Pre-submitted question number 10. I think it's the last one that's pre-submitted. Grass Valley and Bitmoving both show Bird as a partner on their websites, and that is not reciprocated by Bird. Why is that? I think quite simply, we don't want to put logos up on boards for the sake of it. This is both relationships are still quite early. For us to put a logo up on a board means something for us quite substantial, and therefore we want to make sure that there's a use case, a workflow that's been tested before we would chat about it. So, we are of course in conversations with lots of other people in the sector, including these two companies. Once we get to that point where we have something really tried and tested that can be used by a customer, then we'll announce it. What are the terms of the tech licensing deal, Steve?
Yeah, so the tech licensing deal is worth a minimum of 2 million euros over a 5-year period. There was a development fee of 700,000 euros, of which we recognised about 95% of it as at the end of June. We're now kicking into sales mode through our tech licensing partner, and we have a 1.3 million euro minimum guarantee over the 5-year period. The first of that minimum guarantee relating to that is about 180,000 euros this year, which will be recognised at the end of December.
Great. Good morning. I understand the need for some NDAs, but why has the comms to shareholders dropped to such a low level? Has nothing happened that should be celebrated until now? Should we not be updated when you originally had claimed public cloud already over 6 months ago? You talked about a Powered by BLACKBIRD partner being announced at the year, but this has moved back again. Where is the honest, open communication with shareholders? I think actually that's a really interesting question, because it shows that when we try to talk to bring you up to date with all the things that we're working on, you say, where is it? Well, it's fine. We are working on these things, and I think that indicator that we are going to be in public cloud, for instance, with our new creator product that's happening as we speak. We would think that when we launch our self-service model, that actually maybe we could update more frequently in terms of numbers, uptake, etc., penetration. I mean, it's all a bit lumpy at the moment in terms of the deals that we do, just by the nature of those deals. So difficult to release regular financial updates to the market in that respect, because it's all a bit lumpy, and the same in regards to forecast. But we really, we do these presentations so that you guys can ask us questions. We do these presentations twice a year, plus we have our AGM in May. This is fairly regular, but we will try and make it more regular as more appropriate financial and business data comes to mind that we can get out to the market. So that's I guess the best way to describe it. Anything else you want to add to that? No. Great performance, thank you very much. The revenue growth is great to see. What is the split between one-off and recurring revenue, Steve?
So in the period, there were 2 big items which are non-recurring. We've split up the first for you, which is the most material one, which is the tech licensing deal, which accounted for just over 400,000. That combined with the winter games that we worked on means that about 500,000 or so of the revenue is non-recurring in H1. We always tend to have some items which are non-recurring, so I wouldn't be surprised to see other items flowing through over and above the MRR figures that we've given within the presentation.
Yeah. Question from Sean: how many companies are there that could license Powered by BLACKBIRD? I mean, it's a great question. I think it's not so much how many there are, but what scale they are. So if you're talking about the media sector itself, the media production sector, the media production sector is a finite amount of money. It's a large sector, but it's not the largest sector. But of course, the Powered by BLACKBIRD model can be extended to companies that are outside of that professional space as well, that are a much larger scale. We're talking about West Coast, for instance. tech companies. So I guess it's not so much the number, but the scale and who were able to license those two. So within the media sector, probably in the region of around 30 to 40 companies will be editing and publishing content. So I hope that answers your question, but there's much larger opportunities as well in adjacent sectors. Are there technical difficulties delaying the Powered by Blackbird launch? No other technical difficulties other than the fact software always takes a little bit longer than you think. But the fact is that we are currently rolling it out. So edge cases are being tested, and the combined products being road tested. And first indicators that we get from the market is it's going really well. What is the timescale for the launch of the self-service product? 2023. I don't think it's possible at this stage to say any more detail on that for a number of reasons. One is because, again, we're in a competitive environment, and two is that we've only recently brought on the key leaders that are delivering that product. So it's still a little bit early to give you some precise dates. And even if I know them internally, it might not be applicable to release them publicly to the market at this stage. Question on your competition. Does anyone else do what you do in the same way, to the same standard? Are you necessary or just a nice to have? So that's a really good question. Lots of different questions. So I'll start actually from the reverse of that question. Are you necessary or just nice to have? I think in terms of the remote production and remote editing market, probably was a bit of a nice to have pre-2020, before COVID. The remote production and remote editing industry has really become the de facto standard since then. So there's a much larger market for us to sell into with our technology. And that relates to the other question, the other side of the question that you've asked, which is, does anyone else do what you do in the same way? Quick answer is no, they don't. And there is a lot of issues with scale or lack of scale that our competitors have, or lack of scalability. But there are lots of people professing to do what we do. So competition and noise has increased. But actually, do they have the same solution as us, or the same advances in technology? They don't. Stephen, that's kind of a tech question as well. Do you want to pick up on the detail of that one?
Quite a big head start in what we do with the efficiency, and it's very hard to reverse it into an existing product. So I think we're for the efficiency and for the scope of our platform, people won't really be able to catch up for a long time. So I think that is not going to be our issue. It's more to do with now addressing the market better, bigger markets, rolling out the technology upgrades. We have a really good technology base. So I think I'm not worried about other people catching up even after this many years.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, next question. Creator economy individual creators are managing very well with tools from Apple and Adobe in simple workflows of camera, card, laptop. Why do they need cloud, and why should they switch to another app? What can Blackbird bring to the creator community? Great question. Yes, of course, there's an awful lot of video being created, and there's an awful lot of money being made in that sector. It's a $100 billion sector. It's huge. I could go into lots of detail about this. It would start to move into explaining more of the details of the product that we are currently developing, which is probably not wise from a competitor point of view. But I would say that all markets, probably without exception, are able to be disrupted with the right technology and the right workflow. So this is about really thinking about a process, a glass-to-glass process, which can be streamlined, improved, monetized better. We've talked about one particular differentiator in the player. We have others that because of the nature of the technology of the codec, we can apply to this new product that don't exist in the market today, and that will make workflows more efficient, will make workflows more profitable. So exciting times. Thank you for the question. Watch this space. I think that what we intend to bring to the market will be disruptive, and will have a huge potential market. Can you give us insight into the extent to which the pipeline is busier than this time last year? I guess the only way we can do that is what we've just done, which is say that the order book is at a record level. That is indicative of the fact that we are of higher profile. More people know about us. We are on 4 or 5 different areas at both major shows this year. The pipeline is busy. There's an awful lot going on. Would actually also remind you that is mainly on the infrastructure side of things. Though, if you remember those concentric circles, those 3 circles that we put onto that slide, is that the pipeline on the infrastructure is very busy. The pipeline on the OEMs is also very full. Theoretical question: if we were to use your IP to improve a product like Amazon Prime, what sort of thing could it do? What improvements could you make? I'm looking for specific examples for a particular application of the IP. Stephen, this is right up your street. Why don't you have a go at this one?
There's so much we could do. So, the main thing we could do is help with the codec. There's quite a few patents that we're putting through, which I can't really tell you about until they've gone a bit further. But if you think about the whole industry, and this also reflects back on the earlier question about the creator economy, it's all very based on what was around quite a long time ago. The distribution system people use is based on codecs that are many years old. The devices can be improved now. If you imagine, so on the video side, on the point of view of like Amazon as a retailer, everything should have video promotion. There should be interactivity. There should just be a lot more engagement with the users. I can't really criticize Amazon Prime much because they've been so successful. And on Amazon as a whole, we also use their cloud, the Amazon Web Services, for quite a few of our customers. But I think it's to do with people start with the technology that is standard, and then they see what they can make with it. But we have the advantage of actually making the technology, so we're not constrained by what people have already made. And you'll see that, as I say, you'll see that in the next year as we bring new products into new markets.
Great, thanks, Stephen. Please, can you elaborate on the exclusivity with the first Powered by Blackbird deal? Is there a backstop date where the exclusivity expires over? I'll stop it there. There's no exclusivity, so we don't need to worry about whether there's a backstop date. So that's fine. Where do you see the company in 5 years? I see that the strategic direction that we've indicated is delivered, and so that the product that is the mass market tool for the creator economy, with any luck, becomes the de facto way that ends conversations. That when people say, "How do I to create video and publish it to YouTube, make some money?" It's just use Blackbird. That's where I see the company in 5 years. What Stephen and his cohort of brilliant engineers and Sumit Rai and his cohort of brilliant product people dream up in the meantime is not a focus for them right now. But there's 5 years is a very long time, so there could be an awful lot of things that happen in that time. What impact will higher energy prices and interest rates have on the company? Well,
it's not a material amount.
Yeah. I think
very efficient.
There's 2 answers to that one, I guess, in terms of we have an efficient tool, so it would make us more attractive to customers. But in terms of the company itself, it's not going to.
Our competitors don't have such energy efficient tools, so obviously we get a competitive advantage by being environmentally friendly. So
thanks, Stephen. Steve, can you update on the progress? Stephen, update on the progress of public cloud and Codec 10, Blackbird 10. Stephen, go ahead.
Yeah, so public cloud is core to our bigger aspirations. We use public cloud every day with our existing customers, but we're going for much bigger audiences through the creator economy, and that will be based entirely on public cloud. So that's progressing nicely. Codec 10, originally designed for player because we've increased the resolution, but that's being extended into use in our updating, feeding back into our editing tools as well. So it's all progressing. You'll see it all next year.
Thanks, Stephen. How is Tata progressing, and how have the issues hinted at during the finals presentation been resolved? Well, as we did indicate during the finals, the relationship with Tata has been somewhat disappointing in terms of scale at this stage. We have not stopped talking to them. We still have live contracts with them, and we're looking at potentially finding a way to streamline that integration so that we can scale together. But nothing has really changed since we talked about the final presentation. Can Stephen comment on recurring revenues and why these are flat? This is Stephen, I think. If business is expanding, should these not be increasing?
It's a good question. Yeah. Town News lost a customer within the period. So as you know, we're an integral part of Town News. BlackBird's only a small part of their end-to-end solution, which is why you didn't see an increase. But a reminder as well that the tech licensing deal and the minimum guarantee will kick in towards the end of the year. That's not been recognised to date as well, so that will have a nice impact in terms of our revenues too.
Yeah, good. What has happened to BlackBird 10? I think we've answered that question, so nothing else to add on to that one. Why have we not seen more insider purchases in recent periods if the share is considered undervalued? Well, I have to say we did a raise just before Christmas. The resources that our insiders have are not limitless, and we've really bought an awful lot of stock, and we are very much believers in the BlackBird future growth and success. But I guess our pockets are not ever ending in terms of what we can put in. That said, I don't rule it out in the future. Where can investors find out more about the patents explained in layman's terms to help explain the advantage the company has, and why can't others emulate it or better the IP? I don't know which one of you want to take that one.
Stephen, do you want to talk about the emulation, the IP first?
Yes, so the patents are published normally after about 2 years, so you can read them. We've made our IP strategy a lot more sophisticated following the fundraising last year, and the new patents, I think you will find more comprehensible than the original ones. They were previously very restricted to highly technical areas, and now, although they're technical areas, they're much sort of more simply explained, and the claims are much simpler. So I think the easiest way is to wait for the patents to be published, and the new patents, we've been increasing the number of them, and they will be more comprehensible, and there's more emphasis on explanation as well as just the actual detail of the patents. We originally used to patent mostly around the codecs, but we have a lot more areas now, including applications of the codecs and also some product ideas as well, which we can protect. So I think you have to wait, though, for 2 years after the patent is filed before it's published. But you'll find that going forwards, that will be a lot easier to follow.
Thank you, Stephen. You want to add anything?
No, I think you covered it. Well done, Steve.
Is the exclusivity clause with the company? Well, there's no exclusivity clause, so then we know that question is not relevant. I think there's nothing there in that deal that needs to be worried about in terms of exclusivity. Can you widen on Summit's role and when new products might be released? I mean, quite simply, Summit's role is to look at the product portfolio as a whole. So it's right the way across our product portfolio. That's the M&E space and the future creator space, and to ideate, to design, and to execute a product launch. And with that, he will work with our in-house design team. He'll work with Stephen's engineering team. He'll work with product marketing. Of course, he'll work very closely with me to do that. So yeah, so it's a broad role that Summit has, and a lot of responsibility, and it's really exciting to have him on board. Does the BlackBird technology have a use in movie production workflow? I mean, potentially, yes, it does. It's a strategic question. This one really is which way do you think the company will be able to penetrate the larger market? So potentially, we could chase the high end, or we could go to the we'll say the low end, but to the creator space where where extensive and features that would make Star Wars, for instance, are not so important. But the other end is used by fewer people. The creator economy is used by many people. So I think that may be the answer that you're looking for. Are you close to signing more Powered by Blackbird deals or in advanced discussions? At this stage, we're not going to announce anything else with regards to future conversations, other than the fact that they are live. Just wondering why you are not in the same room together. Are the C-suite dynamics still strong? That's very funny. Yes, they are. Yes, they are still strong. Thank you, Sean. We're out on the road this week, Steve and I, meeting our professional investors in the city. And Stephen is not doing that. He's hard at work pushing the codec forward, and is not involved in those conversations directly. But
every minute that I'm not in the city, I'm working on Blackbird 10. Yeah. So I think that's a good division of labour here.
Exactly. It's making sure that we've got the right resources in the right places. How many direct employees do you currently have? Well, direct and non-direct.
Yeah, at the end of June, we had 36 employees. So up from 23 at the end of June last year.
Yeah. Do you think that you're underpricing your product? I mean, this is a competitive market. There's lots of pricing in the market, and we're a challenger brand that will, aiming to penetrate the market deeply. So I do not think we're underpricing our product. I think it's about making sure that we are demonstrating the advantage of our product, but not making it unrealistic prices so that people, have other options. So, what are your thoughts on the US listing of Bird? There's absolutely no interest, hardly any volume traded. That is correct. There's hardly been any volume traded, but it's not been any promotion of the listing at this stage either. I would have hoped to get to the US to promote it this year. But as you can probably see from this presentation, I've been pretty busy in terms of hiring staff, in terms of getting new product underway. I think when there's a product for the mass market through the public cloud vector, that will be a time to promote it more heavily. Next question. It's been previously mentioned that the player will collect large amounts of data. Is the plan for Blackbird to process and monetize this data, or would you look to JV with third parties on the player? If so, what kind of third party? Great question. That is probably a little bit too much more detail in how the new product is going to look at this stage to explain. But you're absolutely right that the player can process data, and so it could be a very interesting angle for the development of it. Watch this space. For Stephen, if your player is so advanced, is it likely to be taken up by the market? I'm hoping it's not another 20 years. Or so again. Quick, Stephen, do you want to pick that one up?
Yes. So the point of the player is that it can be used by anyone. I mean, from a technology point of view, it runs in a browser. You don't need to install anything. Every machine, every phone, every laptop, every PC is compatible with it. So it's really now part of a product question, and that's something that Sumit is focusing on, is how to make it a product success rather than just a technology success.
Great. Okay, a couple of direct customer questions here. Are Blackbird involved in Formula One? We haven't announced Formula One as a customer. No doubt lots of Formula One goes through our system and part of other broadcasters, but we haven't announced Formula One as a customer. Would you say that at the heart of your growth model is now really powered by Blackbird and not direct via OEM? I would refer you back to the slide that we put on with the 3 circles. Directs are not the key focus, as we showed on that model. Scaling through OEM and powered by, and moving into a mass market tool that is self-service is definitely the direction of travel. And nothing's really changed there, to be honest. That's always been the direction of travel. We've shown that slide many times. Are Liverpool still a customer? As a Liverpool fan, and I admit that even in this current climate, yes, they're not. That's actually not a customer anymore. Sadly, we do have Arsenal as a customer still, Steve's team, but sadly not Liverpool. I find these Q&As very reassuring. Oh, thank you, Sean. Is it possible to increase the frequency until Powered by Blackbird launch is complete? Well, we do our announcements twice a year. as per the market regulation, and we do the one in May for the AGM. But point taken, if you would like these questions, these Q&As to be more regular, let's take that away and see what we can do. I think it's an interesting suggestion. Do you think the current share price is good value? Yeah, it's very good value. But then, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to take advise people to buy the stock, obviously. However, I would say it's really good value. It's got a long way to go. You know our ambitions here, Grant, and so yeah, it's exceptional. Stephen still has a great head of hair. Yes, he does, doesn't he? Have a great head of hair. Yeah, I actually, he looks like the Amazon cloud. But yes, maybe time for a little trim.
Yeah, I only had a haircut last week. I just can't stop it growing.
I really wish I had as much hair. Okay. Are you sharing any information to professional investors that, as private investors, we're not privy to? Absolutely not, Colin. What is the current relationship with MediaKind? MediaKind and BLACKBIRD are absolutely in conversation. As someone mentioned earlier, we are on their logo. We were taking some of their feeds actually for the Microsoft demonstration, which is around the NBA in IBC. They're big fans of our technology. We're big fans of theirs. So it's a relationship that both sides are nurturing nicely at the moment. It'd be great to have a showcase event for your tech for investors, please. Okay, point taken. I think that would be great actually, especially as the new product comes to fruition. It'd be brilliant to bring some investors into a room and talk you through what we'll do, possibly here in our broker's office in London would be great. Actually, we've got some nice space here. So thank you for the suggestion. We'll take that away. Any news on Veritone? That's a good one. Veritone and BLACKBIRD still in discussion. An integration with them would be desirable, but it hasn't been a priority. What's to stop someone whipping up your great technology with a hostile takeover? Well, the way that the stock is held would make that very difficult, I think, given the fact that on this call currently there's more than 25% of the stock, and the rest is held by some investors that are very close to knowing what the story has the potential of. So I think it's difficult. Anyone want to add to that? Yeah. And on that last question, that seems to be the last question for now. Any other questions before we finish, before we wrap up? I think we have managed to answer everybody's.
Absolutely. Ian, Stephen, if I may just jump back in there, and thank you very much indeed for taking the time to address all of those questions that came in from investors this morning. And of course, if there are any further questions that are submitted today, we'll make these available to you immediately after the presentation is ended for you to review, and then add any additional responses where it's appropriate to do so. Ian, perhaps before redirecting those on the call to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to yourself and the company, if I could please just ask you for a few closing comments to wrap up with, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few key themes through this. First of all, we've got outstanding results in terms of growth, 78% up, and a record order book, so it shows future sales are looking very healthy. Secondly, that tech licensing deal that is rolling out as we speak will send ripples through shockwaves through the industry in terms of the functionality of a production suite that doesn't exist today. It's a game-changing innovation. And fourthly, just to say that we're well on with developing our self-service model that we will see in 2023. Teams on board, technology exists, products are being developed as we speak. So watch this space. Really exciting times for us.
Ian, that's great. And Stephen as well. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to update investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of BLACKBIRD PLC, we would like to thank you for attending today's presentation. That now concludes today's session, so good afternoon to you all.